We have some big news to discuss today as Elliott Friedman has dropped a major report on the current Mitch Marner situation and what the Toronto Maple Leafs could be doing regarding his future and a potential trade. And he has linked one new team to the Toronto Maple Leafs regarding Mitch Marner trade. So we're going to break down that exact report as it also discusses what a trade package could look like for the Star. We also have a bit of a tidbit on Sheldon Keefe calling out Mitch Marner. So tons to discuss today. Before we do, if you're a part of the 80 or so percent who aren't subscribed, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We make daily Leafs content. We stream every week, so make sure to hit that button because this is the place to be. But Darius, tons of news regarding Elliott Friedman today. Some major reports have dropped, and let's not waste any more time. So if you watch this podcast, he name dropped the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, he said basically that the Vegas Golden Knights could be a very interesting suitor for Mitch Marner because they could be pursuing Mitch Marner, and he actually dropped a trade package kind of framework regarding Theodore and Thompson for Marner, sorry. And it's starting to feel like this team is the team to circle in those discussions. You can see fantastic market, a cup contender, always in on Stars. We covered it in yesterday's stream. Like, it makes all the sense in the world. We'll break down the more in-depth report in a minute. But Vegas is a team we haven't discussed yet. And yesterday it was getting tons of steam around Leafs Twitter, around a bunch of different reporters and rumor mills. It seems like Vegas could be the team, and let's keep this in mind. I think Vegas would be a team that Mitch Marner would indeed waive his no-move clause to go to, given the fact they're contending. And I mean, it's Las Vegas.
Yeah, a couple of things here. Like Mitch Marner, I could see him waiving his no movement clause for Vegas. That's the number one thing, right? We've mentioned a bunch of teams that maybe he wouldn't be open to being traded to, like a Calgary, let's say, for example. But I could see him going to like Nashville or Vegas, right? I could definitely see Vegas. And then on the Leafs side of things, we'll save Vegas for a little bit later. But on the Leafs side of things, you fix two major issues here. You get a number one defenseman in Shea Theodore who has Stanley Cup pedigree, and you get Logan Thompson as your goaltender, right? You fix your goaltending problem, or at least you can, pair him as a tandem with Joseph Woll. And if you look at Shea Theodore here, I mean, he's still very young. I mean, he's only 28. He's going to be 29. He's a big defenseman. He puts up, almost a point a game, so he can score. He's a great two-way defenseman. Like I said, he eats a lot of minutes for the Vegas Golden Knights. He's a number one defenseman, right? Like, you can put him in the team, and we talked about it a little bit on a stream yesterday, that you can kind of rejig if you were to get this player, you could rejig your defense. Maybe Morgan Riley leaves and you kind of reconstruct your entire team based off this trade, right? Because you have the salary to make it work now with Mitch Marner coming off, even though it only saved them a little bit of money, but you fixed two major problems, like I said. So it's a very interesting proposal. I could see Vegas doing it. In a perfect world, I don't think it's a straight up trade like that. Maybe 3-for-1 for Marner. It doesn't really make sense. There would have to be more pieces, but very interesting proposal that would fix a lot of the Leafs issues and leave them with a little bit more salary cap space.
Yeah, I mean, the more we thought about it, we discussed it on the stream yesterday with a bunch of the people who are watching. It makes so much sense, and it probably makes the most sense out of any of the teams we've mentioned so far because of the fact that he would probably waive his no-move clause. You're getting a defenseman, you're getting a goalie, and you can see this from Jeff Villette. Best case scenario, Theodore plus Carlson/Barbashev, cap neutral, spreads help across the board a bit. Worst case scenario, and I was going to mention this one, where the deal is Pietro focus. And the thing with him, he's 34 years old. And if you actually make a trade for him, and let's say it's a 1-for-1 trade or around that, you're trading Mitch Marner for a very good defenseman at this moment, but that curve where he falls off a cliff and he's now no longer that productive is not that far away. So that's why I much prefer a package focused around Theodore and Carlson, or in our case, Theodore and Logan Thompson, who would be a 1A, we assume, goalie. Only played 4 games last year, but he would at least be a very good tandem with Joseph Woll, and then you could use the money that you were going to do, and maybe instead of getting Brossoit, you go out and, again, improve the defensive core there. But what are your thoughts on the second package here proposed by Jeff Villette? I was about to bring it up, but Jeff did it here. I much prefer the first one, though I could see a world where the Leafs focus in on the second one, getting a veteran defenseman in, especially if Mitch Marner is forcing his way out and Vegas is one of the only teams that he's willing to waive his no-move clause to.
Listen, the goaltender Logan Thompson is not a wow factor either. Like, he would certainly help the goaltending position. You wouldn't have to go out and sign another person, but it would kind of be a tandem thing at the end of the day. It's not a 1A situation either. So I don't hate this proposal either, because this helps your depth scoring a lot. And these are all guys who've won the Stanley Cup, which I've been talking about. You need some Stanley Cup pedigree in the room. I think it would certainly help having guys who know what it takes to win in the room. And Carlson's a great player. These guys are getting older as well too, but they would certainly help right now. And Barbashev is a great player that's not necessarily been linked to the Leafs, but a lot of Leaf fans have been saying, I wish we had a player like this to go into the playoffs with. So that would be interesting as well, though I might lean towards the goaltending option just because Logan Thompson is pretty good. It would help your, goaltending problem. You wouldn't have to sign someone in free agency. If the deal is Petro focused, I think that's a mistake. That's the type of situation where like Brad Treliving said, we're not going to make a trade just for the sake of making a trade. If you trade Marner for Petro plus or whatever, I feel like that is a desperation move. Just making a trade for the sake of making a trade doesn't make sense to me. But Shea Theodore coming the other way, I think that's a must because Mitch Marner, is worth a lot. And, any other scenario like that, it could make sense for the Leafs.
Yeah, makes all the sense in the world. And I think that, again, Theodore is such a good, he's the biggest prize asset here. He'd be the defenseman of the future. Hopefully you can send him to a good contract. And you can see this here from David Pagnotta. Things remain silent, or the same, on the Mitch Marner situation as of now, but the Leafs do have an idea of where he would be considered being traded to. And assuming that is, Vegas has to be named as one of those teams for sure. I feel like most players in the NHL would be fine going to Vegas instead of some places like Calgary and things like that. But Darius, I want to touch on, and let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on a trade focused on Theodore, and let us know what your thoughts on if the deal is Petro focused. Again, not a fan of that one. He's 34 years old, unless you're getting more picks back because you kind of want to pertain or sustain the future. But okay, let's focus on this. Elliott Friedman says Sheldon Keefe was extremely careful about how he treated Marner because of how sensitive Marner is, and if that's the case, I don't know how Marner thinks he'll put up with the pressure of another season in Toronto. I'm so sick of this situation. This kind of blew up a little bit yesterday. Crazy. We kind of presumed this was the case, but I didn't know that it was that direct. And now with Berube behind the bench, I don't know if that would even be remotely the same because I can't imagine Berube is going to beat around the bush with Mitch Marner if he stays at Toronto Maple Leaf this upcoming season.
No, he won't, and he won't with anybody else on the team. Things are about to change in that way in Toronto with Craig Berube because, as you can see from his opening press conference, he does this guy doesn't care. All he wants is results. He doesn't care how you feel. The team has to win, right? So I feel like this era of the Leafs where they're kind of making sure everything is perfect for the players to make sure they can perform at their highest, which is something that you want to do. You want them to perform at their highest, but this idea of kind of holding their hands, I guess, through everything and making sure everything is perfect for them and their feelings aren't hurt. It's over, I think, heading into next season. And it has to be because there's a lot of other teams out there who are successful year in and year out that don't operate that way, right? And I don't know if it has to be that way. Take care of your players, of course. I'm not saying, to kick dirt on them or whatever, but the hand holding thing, I think, is over. And that little clip from yesterday from Friedman that's insane to me. That's really hard to wrap my head around because I don't know what's worse, the fact that Marner, plays in Toronto and won't be able to take backlash like that from his coach, or the coach holding back because he knows his player won't be able to take it, right? I really don't even know what's worse in that situation, but that is bad because that creates a scenario where there's no accountability to me, right? And we're seeing the proof in the pudding right now. So hopefully things change next season with a new coach. That is unacceptable to me.
Yeah, I think it will change, but at what point is I think it's on both of them. It seems like Marner is digging himself a bit of a hole here, especially with Leafs fans, and then Sheldon Keefe, he probably should have put his foot down years ago, and ultimately it culminated in them not having a playoff success and him getting ran out of town. But let us know what your thoughts are on that in the comment section. It's honestly hilarious at this point that both of those guys now, well, Sheldon Keefe is gone. Mitch Marner might be on his way out, so this conversation might be interesting going forward. But that'll wrap it up. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on all this, and make sure to hit the subscribe button. We'll see you soon.